always loved art and theater. This is my Ursula design, which won many awards at my state thespians competition. I researched the sea and the character in general, but I also wanted to make this costume my own while staying true to the character, so I researched both mythological and real-world sea creatures, such as Sakalia and octopus. For those who don't know, a Sakalia is a mythological creature that is half octopus, half human, which is the creature that Ursula is based on. I took interesting facts about octopuses, such as how they move and what they eat, and applied it to my costume. I also added a skirt of seaweed on the bottom to represent the cruel punishment she bestows on the poor, unfortunate souls she imprisons. I had a creative idea to make my award-winning Ursula design out of found materials to be more resourceful and innovative. I began this process by tracing a pattern on the cardboard that was symmetrical to my design. Then, I cut it out with an X-Acto knife scissors, taped the pieces together with gum paper tape. After, I sprayed bottle caps which I collected, and I took apart an old project from middle school, and I glued it inside the bottle caps to make it appear like real suction cups. Once that was done, I began spray painting the piece with white spray paint in multiple layers. After it dried, I sprayed purple on the top of the dress and pink on the collar to make it look like the design. A few months after I had won the thespians competition, I was walking home from school one day, and I found a shell in my neighborhood near a lake. It looked exactly like Ursula's iconic shell necklace. I took it as a sign, and I brought it home and kept it safe. Once I started this project, I knew it would be the perfect fit for Ursula's necklace on my costume. I found honeycomb paper and decided to use it. I decided to use it for my costume because it looked very sea-like and reminded me of scales. I cut it and glued it on carefully with spray adhesive. Afterwards, I took a pink sparkly cardstock and hot glued it onto the collar of the costume. Then I started to put together the skirt. I cut strips from an old paper portfolio and weaved it together and attached it with gummed paper tape. Once it was secure, I spray painted the skirt in multiple layers with a dark, shiny purple. While the skirt was drying, I began hot gluing bottle caps to the collar. Once the skirt was dry, I hot glued Velcro to the sides and attached it to the mannequin. Then, I started attaching the honeycomb paper to the skirt with spray adhesive. During this, one of the straps snapped, and I had to layer the strap with gum paper tape in multiple layers, so it would stay in place. And I did the same for the other strap just to be safe. This taught me problem solving. Next, I took shells which I collected from many trips at the beach, and I painted them with a sparkly paint so they would look clearer in the light and more noticeable. I began gluing them in a pattern that was similar as possible to my design, and once they were all glued and carefully dried, afterwards I put on the pearls one by one to match it to my design as closely as possible. This is where I am with the costume at the moment. Last summer, I had the greatest experience at Interlochen Center of the Arts. I met many interesting people and students. I learned many new skills, techniques, through unique and fun projects that they assigned us. The first project I worked on was designing costumes for the play Importance of Being Earnest. For each design, I studied the script and then took inspiration from the fashion during the 1890s, which is the year this play takes place. But to make my designs unique, I researched traditional fashion and discovered it was heavily influenced by Japanese culture. This was called Japanism. This design concept comes from the integration of East meets West. The first character I designed was Algernon. For Algernon, I made his costume very showy to represent that he is a character who loves attention. To show this, I chose fabric charcoal velvet with a pinstripe, which is a wealthy material from that time period. I also added a Japanese wave pattern of black and gold, which traditionally symbolizes elegance and good fortune. And this is my design as a whole. Next, I designed Lady Bracknell. I selected Nakashido fabric because the carnation represents maternal love, which is meant to emphasize that Lady Bracknell is an overprotective parent to her daughter Gwendolyn. I also added Japanese flowers and a floral brocade, which embodies Japanese carnation. Last, I designed Jack. I incorporated a Japanese kanko pattern fabric into his waistcoat and the lining of his suit. This particular pattern required lots of personal work, so only the wealthy could afford it. I did this intentionally to represent that Jack is one of the upper class. The first group project we did together was to recreate an art piece in the street with chalk to teach us how to work together, measure a piece, and enlarge a grid to apply it to scenic design. Next, I studied body proportions, and we drew the human body in different proportions to better understand the human body and how to accurately draw their bodies. We also drew a dress in charcoal to better understand how to use this material and how to use it to represent light and shadows. One of the best and most creative projects that I worked on was lighting design for the musical theater showcase. I was the only student selected to design the lighting for this showcase. One of the songs I designed was The Witch's Road, which is a song from the Marvel show Agatha All Along. I chose different colors on the stage each time a witch appeared to represent which element they used for their magic. I was also selected to be a dresser for the production of Shakespeare in Love. During this job, I helped multiple actors, both male and female, to get in and out of their costumes quickly, among other responsibilities. This is a puppet show we created while I was at Interlochen. The idea was for a group of students to create their own story and design these puppets and represent it in a shadow puppet show. And I designed all of these for the scenic show, and I created a good amount of the story. I was the one who applied the idea to use ancient Egypt, which is one of my favorite historical contexts. I created these pieces for my AP art class.
Ninth Horner at West Virginia University. We actually spoke last year, as I'm sure you did with several of these colleagues here. So being that you went through this last year and now this year, what do you think you're really looking for in a university?
I'm looking for like a university that will give me a chance to like pursue my dreams. My true dream is to be a costume designer and constructor for the theater and film industry, like working like, for example, like at Broadway or Disney Studios and like creating costumes for those particular studios.
Good morning. My name's Aaron Bollinger from Point Park University, and this might be more of a personal question related to your Ursula costume. How long has it taken you from the start of your construction process to now, and where do you see this going? What's the future of this project?
So I started it about a month ago, and I chose this one because it's my favorite design. And I see this one going. I'm planning on. So the only real parts I need to finish are just the tentacles and the seaweed at the bottom. And I'm planning on using wire for the tentacles. I don't know what material I'll make the tentacles out of yet. Like I was considering possibly pool noodles or something else that's unique that would work. And for the seaweed, I'm still deciding.
I think I also saw, was there a fish head in the design of the shells on the, are you going to include that as well?
I was considering it at first, but now I don't think so. I feel like the shells and the pearls are enough as is, and I feel like adding that in there would kind of overdo it.
All right, thank you.
Hi, Logan. Ken Clothier, Seton Hill University. How are you doing?
I'm doing really good.
Good. Great presentation, beautiful work, and I really love the fact of you're telling us your story of your design process, because we are all storytellers. That's the job in theater and film and the arts. That's what we're doing. So I loved how well you did at articulating the story of your process, the discovery of the shell. Those are all great things to incorporate as you develop there. Do you have maybe other examples of ways that you've incorporated story into your design process, of whether, how I think you gave some examples, but maybe you could pick one that you really loved that, how the design element helped tell the story.
So, one particular thing that I researched, besides like historical context and clothing, is like the character in general, certain things I can apply to the character and emphasize more. For example, when I designed Jafar for my Aladdin costume designs, like his main symbol was a snake, but it's not really emphasized besides in his staff. So I wanted to emphasize that element even more by making like his costume like have like a snake head, like snakes all across his body, make it like out of like scaly fabric, like to emphasize that. Okay. To make it like more accurate to the story.
Wonderful, thank you.
Hi Logan, my name is Sam from Slippery Rock University. I think we talked last year, so I'm really excited to see the continued development of your work this year. You've put together a lovely portfolio for us to look at, so thank you for that. I see that in your portfolio you work in a bunch of different mediums. It seems like the Ursula costume is a lot of different kind of like paper crafts and in the kind of costume crafts territory. And then with Interlochen, I'm assuming since you went on stage with some of those costumes, you worked with some different fabrics. Is there a specific kind of fabric or medium that you like working with the best, or something you found yourself drawn to?
Not exactly. When I like select fabrics, it's mainly like I pick it mainly for two reasons, like the look and the meaning it has, like to emphasize like the story and to make it more unique, and also to make it look gorgeous, obviously.
Hi, Logan. My name is Brian from Wright State University. Beautiful presentation, really interested in the things that you were exploring, and again, the materials that you were using, and your adaptability was, I think, really amazing. You mentioned an interest in film. What draws you to want to work in film as well as theater?
Well, ever since I was a kid, I've always loved watching movies, like particularly Marvel movies in general. And like I always like wanted like to make the costumes, because like ever since like I was little, I'd always draw the superheroes repeatedly over and over and over again in body stances, and I didn't realize it at the time, but those were just like iterations of future costume design.
That's amazing. Awesome to hear.
Hi. Baldwin Wallace University in Cleveland. I'm curious if you could talk a little bit about your favorite parts of the design process, like what really gets you excited to create.
My favorite parts of the design process, I would say, are research and drawing it out because like I get to research so many interesting facts and aspects about certain cultures and then I get to apply it into my design in a unique way that nobody else has done it before and I feel genuinely happy when I'm doing that.
Hey, Logan. Chen Liu from Coastal Carolina University. You definitely have a strong portfolio, and I wonder, throughout your study and career, have you ever experienced any challenge while you're designing, or and how you deal with that?
The only challenge that I've really had is just time limit in general because like there are certain times like with APR pieces or even with designs to submit to the competitions, I had to rush in certain areas. So that's like the only takeaway, just the time limit in general, but I'm able to work with it.
Thank you.
I'm going to jump back in if we have more time. Um, as far as looking for things, you already have a really great foundation of design as well as construction. What are some skills that you're really interested in growing in when you're looking for universities?
So, so far I've only, so one skill in particular that I want to grow in is creating costumes because I have mostly designed and I'm still in like the early stages of like learning how to create costumes. Like I now know how to put it together, but I still feel like I can grow strong in that area.